Welcome back to DC Decoded, where we break down what happens when artificial intelligence meets the nation's capital. This is, as always, part of the GenAI Collective. We are over 25,000 members strong across the world and only continuing to grow. I'm Sam Lee. I'm the creative director of our DC chapter, where we currently have three content streams. First being the podcast DC Decoded that goes up every other Wednesday, a weekly news roundup on Tuesdays, and these Substack Lives. So this is our third Substack Live and recaps all of the amazing events and work that our team does in the DC and DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia community, and it's uploaded afterwards. For now, for everybody, we'll see if we want to introduce any subscription models later on because this content is just so valuable. Catherine has dropped off, so as I try to invite her again, Anna, can you please introduce yourself?
Definitely. So, hello everybody. For those who have not seen our Substack lives before, I am Anna April. I work on the operations team here at GenAI Collective, and I deal with a lot of the run of show at events from beginning to end. So you'll see my face at a majority of our events, and I kind of help with the internal and external operations of all of that process. So happy to be here tonight. Happy to talk about
Yes.
yesterday's event, and yeah.
Awesome. And Catherine, now that you have rejoined, can you
Yes.
please introduce yourself?
Yes. I'm Catherine. I'm the DC chapter lead, and starting Monday, I will be the founding director of the GenAI Collective,
Yeah.
overseeing the entire community.
We are very excited for Catherine, and we will definitely be talking more about that on the podcast once we record a better episode. For context, me and Catherine tried to record a podcast episode about this new exciting change for her, and we both did not do well. So at one point, you will understand a bit better what Catherine will be doing in her role, maybe 1 month in. All right, this Substack Live, AI Insiders Roundtable, an event with the GenAI Collective, also partnering with Halcyon and AWS. So maybe before we get into the venue, the timing, can you guys, maybe we start with Catherine, explain what Halcyon and AWS are for people who might not know?
Yeah, so Halcyon House is a equity tech accelerator. They provide programming to founders across various domains that try to achieve social good, so social entrepreneurship. And then AWS is associated with Amazon, but they provide server and web hosting capabilities.
Awesome. And Anna, can you talk a bit about when this event was, where it took place, and
Yeah.
where people found out about the event and could sign up?
Yeah, so it took place yesterday at the Halacon House right out in Georgetown. Beautiful venue. People could find our events typically on Luma. We also post on the DC Decoded LinkedIn page. We also can post on our personal LinkedIn pages as well. So it's kind of all out there on a variety of different media sources. But it was yesterday from 5 to 7:30. We had people show up before 5, which was great. We had a great
Yes.
turnout, and I think it was a well executed event. And again, shout out to the Halacon team. They were super
Halcyon.
Halcyon. Sorry,
Halcyon.
Halcyon.
If
Um,
Marcelo or Erna ever watches this, I want
yes,
to make sure we got it right.
okay, Halcyon. They were phenomenal. They were super helpful. So happy to have been a part of it.
Yes, and looking at the stats here, we had 77 guests as going, 39 that were pending approval, and I think ultimately we had 60 or so people we checked in and had attend. So it was quite a good turnout for us, especially given that ratio of about 70 or so people who said they were going, and then having about 60. That's quite good for an event, especially in DC. And in terms of feedback, we got one 5.0 star rating. And because it's this person, I'm sure he wouldn't mind us shouting him out, but it's Wolf Rusika, a very consistent attendee of our events. We've had him on the podcast. He's written this book, AI Driven, with Victor Shiloh. Catherine,
It's
do you
all
have
on
your
here.
copy?
Oh,
Well,
it's on the
Catherine
bookshelf.
has a copy too. And Wolf said, with the star eyes emoji as his emoji of choice, combining and cross pollinating communities parentheses, in this case, my two local favorites, Jedi Collective and Halcyon, via events like this is a stroke of genius. So as always, Wolf is very nice to us, and we very much appreciate his support. But because Luma is a versatile platform and allows for this feedback, we do seek feedback after each event, both positive and negative. Wolf, again, is just very nice, but we do want to make sure every event we are not just improving as an internal team, but genuinely getting the community's feedback. So even if you want to give us a 1 star, you can remain anonymous if you want, vent out anything, please do. That will help us just as much as positive feedback. But thanks as always, Wolf, for your kind words. All right, so this event yesterday at the beautiful Halcyon House, about 60 people. Catherine, let's start with you. Let's break down what exactly this event entailed. What does an AI Insiders Roundtable really mean?
Yeah, what does it mean? I think we figured that out yesterday. So basically, what I wanted us to do was have light programming where we brought people intentionally together to have conversations. Usually at networking events, you're kind of milling around the room, maybe clinging to the people that you already know. So we wanted for people to get out of their comfort zone and also kind of structure the conversations around things that would have been helpful for industry leaders in the AI space. So there was open networking for about 45 minutes. There were some sponsor remarks. And then we actually randomized people to go to different tables. So upon check in, their name badge had a table number that they were assigned to. And then when it came time for the roundtable portion of the evening, they would go to their designated table and meet the 6 to 8 people who are part of their group.
Awesome. And did people rotate at all during the event, or is this the table that they were sat at?
Yeah, they were static at that table, but the conversation was around 40 minutes. So at the previous event, we did AI Power Hour. We did fast rotations between groups. It was chaotic, but it was fun. Guests really enjoyed it. But for this one, we didn't want to feel a sense of urgency. We wanted them to really dig in and get to know the people at their table. And then to wrap up, um, similar to most of our events, that the soirees, the AI Power Hour, at the end of the night, we like to do a recap, kind of seeing what was talked about in the room, right? We don't have the luxury of getting to talk to every single person, but
Right.
having those insights bubble up to the top is important. So we just put a mic at every table, and one designated person would share an insight.
Awesome. And Anna, talk a bit about the table that you were at. Who was at that table? What did you guys talk about? And yeah, how was your experience with
Most
your specific
definitely.
table?
So at first I was running check-in the beginning of the night. So I missed, unfortunately, the opening sponsor remarks, but that was great. We had that kind of at the beginning of the event. And then, like Catherine said, everybody was assigned a table number on their name tag. And I was sat at like table number 10. So I sat with a fellow GenAI Collective person. And then there was a variety of different people from different sectors. There was an individual from the healthcare sector. There was somebody from the State Department going on a mission down in Latin America. There was an individual from a law firm. So you had kind of an array of different people at the table, but all very insightful conversations. I think something that we really tried to incorporate at this event was having a main theme for these discussions, and that was around building, scaling, and commercializing AI. And the way that we had set this up was we originally had on a prompt just 3 questions that we had created around these central themes, and we discussed that. And then also at check-in, before everybody was sitting down, we instructed people or advised people to write down one burning question they had about anything AI related. And so that they could do that and have it as an option to discuss at their table. That being said, I think a lot of the time was focused on introducing ourselves and kind of going around the table and people just kind of getting familiar and warmed up to the conversation, which I think is great. I think just genuine flow of conversation is important. And so it really allowed us to leisurely touch on a variety of different AI subjects. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and in the event description for who's in the room, we had senior executives and founders navigating AI strategy at scale. We also wanted investors and decision makers driving adoption and commercialization of AI, and also technical and business leaders shaping AI powered products and services. So, Catherine, at your table, for those who weren't able to go to this event, what are these types of people thinking about? What seems to be the most pressing thoughts on their mind as they navigate AI strategy, build AI products, and essentially impact a lot of our lives with the decisions that they make?
Yeah, a lot of the questions at my table were surfaced around developing policies and protocols around AI uses and especially in the healthcare industry. So, healthcare as an industry may struggle to adopt AI as rapidly as other industries because of HIPAA and other very sensitive um, patient information. So, understanding what policies like data privacy protections and policies that can be put in place and to give the stamp of approval around the outputs of the LLMs and the AI models, that was another important thing. Like who gets to certify and be able to give the stamp of approval on we can trust and validate the outcome of these AI models. The reality is it's not a very glamorous position to be in, especially if those models go south or decide to do their own thing. So that was one concern from a founder at the table. And then broadly speaking, I think that it became pretty philosophical. It kind of felt like a bit of a soiree at our table. And for those who don't know, the AI soiree is very human x AI philosophical kind of AI salon where we talk about critical issues at the intersection of humanity and technology. So I think it was veering into that. I think partly because Ed was at our table. So the conversation also steered in that way, but people were really receptive and open to that.
Yeah, Ed Melick is one of our advisors on the chapter, and he has a lot of different AI experiences under his belt, and as a result, a lot of philosophical musings that you take any one of those and you can talk for a very long time with him about. Anna, I'm curious at your table, were there any surprising topics or comments that were brought up that might seem counterintuitive? Like, I think some themes that we have gathered from these AI events so far that we've held as a chapter is clearly a good amount of people want some sort of responsible AI
Mm-hmm.
deployment. A lot of people, I think, want to balance the lines between AI innovation
Yeah.
and AI regulation.
Yeah.
Another theme, for example, that we've talked about is how big biotech and healthcare is in general on the
Yep.
minds of DC and the DMV region. Were there any comments or thoughts that were a bit different that brought in some different perspectives at your table?
I mean, so there was an individual that worked in the healthcare sector, and genuinely, I'm going to be very transparent. I am not an AI professional, so it's a little bit difficult to understand the really technical conversations being held. But for example, I think going off kind of what Catherine's group two was talking about and HIPAA and all these regulations and whatnot, there's also an importance at, in the healthcare sector of how these LLMs are getting their information and retrieving data, and I think that's a really critical viewpoint and and fo- focal point of the conversation is to make sure that healthcare systems are getting good and accurate data. And so I think that, that state the obvious, but I think that it doesn't always happen in execution. And again, I don't have fully the technical understanding of it, but that I think was definitely something that was interesting. And I kind of had asked for a little bit more insight on that. Um, and then also, I thought something that was interesting was, and this kind of goes along with like maybe it's counterintuitive, but it's always good to just kind of reassure and like talk about it in conversation with people that AI is accelerated. It's fast moving, right? People don't know what to do. People are like, how do we handle this? How do we go about this in a regulatory framework or political framework? And AI is used so often in any sector now. Like that's a given. You can use it on a day-to-day basis, but I think one very important theme is how we can coexist with AI as humans. And I think being transparent in the process, and if you're industry and if you're an industry and you're working with stakeholders and you're in meetings and you're using AI, it's good to say, hey, let me walk you through this AI or how we got this information and just have a human level or layered conversation to that. So that was, I think, a very interesting point to be had.
Yeah, I think both of you are hitting on points that are making me think of this recent piece I read. So Dario Amode, co-founder of Anthropic, also with his sister Daniela, both former OpenAI leaders, he just sat down and did an interview with Wired, which is a tech magazine, and basically they were asking him, well, what's going to happen? He's one of those people, kind of like Sam Altman. I put Elon Musk in that category too, of just people who are constantly thinking about AI and have the bright minds that I think we need to create and also to disagree. And Dario, he had put out this manifesto last fall. A lot of these AI leaders were in that fall, and his was about all the ways AI can go right because he's like, as a co-founder of Anthropic, a company that is, in my opinion, one of the most like responsible AI forward companies. They're constantly talking about all the ways it can go wrong. So he's like, let me just set the record clear and talk about how I think we can make this work for us. Like the most rosy, optimistic predictions. And the first two sectors he hit are the biomedical space and neuroscience. So I think again, like I'm surprised at how the theme of like healthcare keeps coming up. And a podcast episode we're putting out soon with a guest, we talk about this healthcare corridor that kind of exists between DC and Rockville, Maryland, and how there's like the NIH there, a bunch of healthcare startups. And it's clearly something that I think us as like a team should think more about. Maybe we should do a specific event and Anna, to your point, like get people to break down the technical terms a bit better for us but yeah, Dario's first 2 points are about healthcare, and he also talked about that human alignment question of what does it mean to coexist with AI. I mean, at Anthropic, like Claude is as ubiquitous. Claude is the AI model that Anthropic uses. In fact, like there was an anecdote in that Wired article about a researcher like apologizing for their poor like slide design, and their product manager saying just Claudify it next time, like just use Claude. So it's here, it's growing, and I think that's something again that is probably in the future something an event we could pull together. With any event, we have some funny stories. So I hope you guys have brought your funny story for this event. Catherine, let's start with you. What was a funny moment that made you laugh or even just giggle? Like it doesn't have to go to a full laugh. It's something that made you happy during this event.
Start with Anna. I need to think.
All right, Anna,
Okay,
let's go.
my funny story of the night is I am working check-in with Ed, our advisor, and we have a nice little system going. He's checking in people on Luma. I'm directing people, write your names down. This is where you need to be. Pick this table number. And then as they're writing their names down, I'm trying to explain the burning question level equation to the conversation. And then I'm like, head on downstairs. So it was very like this, A, B, C, D. And not even 10 minutes in, somebody like gets through the line, is about to go downstairs, and then there was a comment made about how we were giving like TSA energy. And I just was like, oh
Oh yeah.
my goodness. I really don't know how to take that, but that's okay. And then we clarified it. We were giving like positive TSA energy, I
Yeah, they
guess.
meant it as a compliment, but I don't know
No,
if you
yeah,
took
they
it as a compliment.
no, I was just like, that's hilarious. Because it was definitely like structured and we were trying to get people, through the door quickly and downstairs to network. But that was funny. So
Yes, I remember you telling me that. That was funny.
yes.
Catherine?
I was there when that happened. I can't believe it jogged my memory better. Um, I don't know. I think this is hyper specific, but I think that Marcelo is just really funny. I was laughing when he made his remarks. He's just a natural speaker. I was really laughing when he was talking about, the question on all of our minds. I think, what did he say? What would my dog look like if it was my kid? Or like the inverse of that. Anna, were you there when he?
No, I didn't
I
hear
remember
this.
that because I was like laughing.
Uh-huh.
It's because like we were having all these high level conversations about AI governance and AI in healthcare, and then he talks about what would my dog look like if it was my kid? I don't know. I thought that was funny. I
That's
also
funny.
thought it was funny when I got kicked out at the end because I was lingering too long. They're like, we're
Oh,
closing up shop. It was very nice. They were very nice about it, but they were like, yeah, we're kicking people out, and I was like, okay, let's walk together. And I
Uh-huh.
grabbed my stuff upstairs and then lingered outside a little bit, even more.
yeah.
But
I think one thing I've noticed is Catherine's event endurance is legendary. I mean, that's why she has built this chapter, and obviously now she has a great team with her. But I think just her event endurance to be able to, even if I'm like lingering, that's quite a foreign concept to me with that event. So yeah, that makes sense that you would be the one to get kicked out because you are just making your
Well, people
connection
keep on
slow and
like
everything.
yanking me like left and right, like one because I didn't get the chance to really talk to many people in the first like 45 minutes because
Yeah,
I was going up and down stairs, putting up signs, things like that. So I was very busy for that part. But then, of course, like at the end, like people were like, Catherine this, Catherine that. I'm like, okay, okay.
yeah, yeah. That's our leader, everybody. Catherine's time is very valuable. And just for context, that's Marcelo Homrich, Director of Programs at Halcyon. So this is a new segment we're going to introduce. And if anyone has questions, feel free to throw them in the chat or give us a like if you have liked what you're seeing so far. This is going to be our rapid fire session. We'll find a better name at some point. But I think for now, every time we do an event recap, we're going to ask a few questions about AI. And tonight, it will be about ChatGPT and just some human scenarios
Oh
if
God.
ChatGPT could be anthropomorphized like that. Totally unscripted. There has been no previous knowledge of these questions, so this is completely organic from Catherine and
We're on
Anna
the
and me.
spot.
Yes, they're on the spot. I'll give my answer after them. We'll go Anna, Catherine, me with each of the three questions. So, are you guys ready for question one?
As ready as we'll ever be.
Yeah, I guess you don't have a choice. Okay, if ChatGPT were at a karaoke night, what would be its go-to song? Anna, go.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I don't know if I have a specific song in mind,
You
but
said a
genre.
song. You said a song.
Well, I no, I said it. I said an artist, but I think that was just like my personal preference. Like I like rap music, and I don't really know if that correlates to ChatGPT's vibe. But what I do think correlates is like techno music, very futuristic, maybe some like
Hmm.
lo-fi techno, something of that sort. Um, yeah,
Okay.
that's where I'm going in that
Okay,
direction.
techno.
Yeah,
Okay,
techno.
Catherine, go-to karaoke song for chat.
I have no idea why this is the first one that's on my mind, but YMCA.
Okay, very classic. Very
Yeah,
It's
because
like
American,
I
a
can.
right?
very communal song. Like that's very like let's get everybody involved. Everyone do the
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Also,
I get
I'm
you.
trying to figure out like how it would do like the dance sequence of the YMCA. Like I'm just like trying to imagine chat, like getting into it. So
Yes. I think that is an appropriate answer. And I do think with this one there could be wrong answers. So good job, both of you. I would say 30 for 30, SZA and Kendrick Lamar. It was off of her latest deluxe release. And it's because she says in the quote, like, chat, should I fold that bitch? No yoga mat. Like, I feel like chat's already in the song. And yeah, of course, she's talking about like her group chat, but
That's
I
hilarious.
could see chat GBT like doing a little self reference saying, like, should I fold that bitch? No yoga mat. And then a few other things as well. All right,
Oh my god, so
question
crazy.
two. If ChatGPT had to choose between being a drama queen or a comedian, which personality does it accidentally show more? Anna.
Drama queen, 100%.
yeah.
I don't find ChatGPT funny at all. Like if I'm like do something for me and they can't they're like I'm so sorry. That's not funny. So it's giving more like diva and
Hmm.
there honestly I give it diva energy back though too. Like I needed to do something. It's not doing it right. I'm like you're canceled. I'm going to figure out how to do this on my own, which I guess is great cuz sometimes
Your
just human
brain.
work is
No more
better
Yes.
than
dependency.
ChatGPT. No more
Yes.
dependency,
Yes.
exactly. Check the balances. So definitely I'm gonna say drama.
Okay, Catherine, you agree?
Absolutely. Chat is such a diva. Um, but I will disagree because I think that chat is funny sometimes. Sometimes it
It's gotten
surprises
better.
me
Okay,
sometimes.
fair.
Yeah. Yeah. I also agree that it's more of a drama queen. And for me, it's when, you know how chat just has like a tendency to be overly optimistic when I'm just like, do this one task. It's like, certainly, or like, yep, for sure. And I'm like, okay, no need. Like, just do
Just
the
do it.
task.
Do the
Like,
work.
don't be fake. Like,
Uh-huh.
don't be fake. Be FF real. Be FF real. I'm giving myself one
Period.
swear word for this episode.
We'll put
All
it
right,
into the
and then
swear jar.
I know.
There you go.
Last question for this segment. If ChatGPT had to write a dating profile for itself, what would be its most quirky fun fact on it?
I feel like it would be something along the lines of like, I'm a jack of all trades. Like
Hmm.
that would be the one liner it gives. It's like, what can ChatGPT not do? You want it to write code? Okay, let it write code. You want it to write an email? Let it write an email.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that would be it.
It would be something similar to that, like I can be whoever you want me to be, or I know all the knowledge of the universe and I want to find the way to your heart. Like that would be like a pickup line I could use. Um, yeah, something about its like omniscience, I
Yeah.
think would be what it would go for.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like mine is lamer than your guys's, but I would just say like join November 2022 and just leave it at that. It's like a little wink. Like
Or
if you had,
established.
yeah, established like November 2022, you had to be
Yeah.
there, something like that. Awesome.
Okay.
So I hope people will enjoy that segment. We'll figure out more stuff about it, but just something to get some different takes here. Lastly, let's wrap up with the takeaways like we did last time. One thing from this past event, AI Insiders Roundtable with AWS and Halcyon, that you would keep for next event. One thing that you'll leave with this event, never to be seen again. Anna.
I think I would keep the the way that we systemized it in place. I thought it was beautiful. I liked having numbered name tags, and I liked having these discussion groups. We've had that at every event, so I want to keep that going. Something that I would take away, um, maybe like the post-it burning question, or maybe something like that has to do with like check-in, so it's not overwhelming, where people can just kind of be like, okay, I'm checking in and I'm gonna go network. You know what I mean? I don't want
Yeah,
too much pressure when they initially enter.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Catherine?
Something that I want to take and keep for upcoming events is the beautiful partnership that we've built with Halcyon.
Yes.
I
For sure.
really could not ask for better partners in this event. They've been incredibly welcoming, allowing me to crash in the house for co-working for a couple of days. Just
Not
wonderful people.
overnight. Not overnight, though.
Not
Just
overnight.
to
Not
clarify. Just to clarify.
maybe if I go through their accelerator program one day, then
Yeah.
I'll be in the
Yeah.
residency program.
Yes.
But yeah, they're just great people, and they run really excellent programs too.
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
looking
Yeah,
forward to keeping that
great team.
partnership alive. Um, and then something to take away. I mean, I hate to be redundant, but the same as Anna, like I feel like there was a little bit harder for people to get into the event, so maybe take away like the burning question, or even try to incorporate something in that's more interactive within the event space itself. So instead of
Yeah.
having that at check-in, bringing it into the actual event space. Um, so we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. I would say one thing that I would keep on the side of like partnership with Halcyon, but for a future podcast event, a live podcast, I talked briefly with somebody about that. And this is an open musing. We obviously do not have anything planned yet, but I think that multiple venues there would be great. And I think we would basically just take what we do already with DC Decoded. We have people who we know want to talk and get us up there and host that type of event. So I would
Was the
also,
reception good? Were they like, did they consider it?
yeah, I just floated it casually. And Alexis, if you're listening, I don't mean to like put you on the spot, but you seem like you'd be open to the idea. So yeah, I think the reason why we've been able to have these partnerships besides like our individual efforts is just once you have good events, like that attracts people, that attracts partners, that attracts attendees, that makes people feel like they're missing out. And I think that's what we're trying to do with the chapter, not in a malicious way, but to make it of value of people's time. Like every time I go to an event, it's after work. And I think that's a lot of people's experience too. Catherine was on PTO last week, but that's a little different because she's transitioning. But people are taking times that number one, I think they could spend like with themselves or their families, and they're like coming to these things. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like obviously, I think we've stated all the benefits that you get, like the networking, you get to know us, you get to um, especially with our content as well, like you get access to what's going on with AI in DC, you get these deep dives. But again, like that's all secondary to your personal life and your health, and you could literally be doing anything
Mhm.
else. So I think we if we did a live podcast event at Halcyon or somewhere else, like we would make sure it's worth people's time, like we do with every event. And then one thing I would leave is I'll just add on with the check-in process. I think it could be like just smoother. Anna had to help like 90% of the participants with the name tag. So maybe we can think through that a bit more in the future. But I think we'll get there just fine. Any last thoughts from either of you before we close out here?
I have one thought, which is, yeah, the value of people's time and the value of an RSVP.
Mhm.
Um, we want for this to be a community, and community means repeated engagement over time. And so we want for the people who come to these events to not think that it's just a one-off thing, but something that they want to continuously come back to. So I'm hoping that with these event formats where we're not just like talking at people, but we're bringing people together and forming really diverse and rich conversations, that people will find a reason to come back.
Yeah,
Definitely.
exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that was a recap of the latest Gen AI Collective DC chapter event, AI Insiders Roundtable with Halcyon and AWS. Be sure to subscribe, leave a rating or review. It really helps us with engagement. Wherever you are listening or watching this recap, follow us on our Substack, DC Decoded, AI in the Capital. Follow us on LinkedIn. Me and Catherine are about to have a call after this about where we want to take the LinkedIn, so please follow it. We're working on it. And links to upcoming events will be in the show description. And until the next recap, we'll see you then.